Hare Krishna, dear devotees, my humble obeisances to you all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you also. Thank you so much for joining His Holiness Candramauli Swami Maharaj's daily class. Today, it's Sri Ramanavami for you all. Yeah, hopefully you are having a very blissful Sri Ramanavami today and having nice darshans of the Lordships. And today, Maharaj is going to speak on the topic of glories of Sri Ramchandra, Sri Ramanavami. Hare Krishna Maharaj, my humble obeisances to you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. You can please take over, Maharaj. And is there any verse to share, Maharaj, regarding this topic?
Well, I was just going to speak, but I'll mention some verses, but I'll just speak.
Yes, Maharaj.
Umagyantimirandasya Ginajana Salakaya Chaksutamena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Maum Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaudavani Pacharini Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Pastyatya Sitarine Vanshakalpatirubhescha Kripa Sindhuve Bacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktarindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Ramadi Morti Sukala Nayamena Tishtana Navatara Akaro Bhuvanesa Kinchu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramam Pamanyo Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. This verse is from Brahma Samhita, describing there are many incarnations of the Lord, but the principal one is Sri Ram. The Lord mentions in the Bhagavad Gita, which is the standard principle that he follows in all of his incarnations, Yada Yadahi Dharmasya Glanir Bhavati Bharata Abhutanam Sadharmasya Tridanam Srijami Aham Pavitranayam Sarunam Vinasanaya Chaduskritam Dharma Samstarpanartaya Sambhavami Yuge Yuge. He declares that when irreligion rises very highly and religious principles are somewhat lost, and he comes to reestablish the religious principles, to remove irreligion in the world in the form of the personalities who are propagating it, and he also comes to give pleasure to his devotees. So Lord Ramachandra appeared 2 million years ago in the Treta Yuga, and in an area known as Ayodhya, and that place is still there. In fact, just in the month of January, we reopened the whole Ram Mandir again after being lost for about 30 years or more, actually, even more than 30 years. It was again taken back and reopened again. So that place is there, Ayodhya Dham. Ayodhya was a city of about 24 miles wide and 96 miles long. The inhabitants of Ayodhya were all great devotees of the Lord. The city was so nicely developed, both materially and, of course, in the quality of the spirituality of the persons involved. Everyone followed their dharma. The 4 varnas, Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Sudra, were in line, and people were working according to their dharma. And the cities were bedecked with so many palaces and beautiful parks, beautiful streams, fountains, gardens. It was a luxurious city. It said that it was so nicely developed that it was on the same level as Indra's Indra's abode in the heavenly planets. And Dasarath was the king. Dasarath, his name, Dasa means 10, and Ratha means chariot. He received that as a name for his prowess in battle. He could fight with 10 charioteers at the same time and be victorious. And so he was the king of the city, and everything was ideal. There was no enemies from the outside that would even attempt to try to attack Ayodhya. It was such a organized, the military was highly developed, no atheism in the city. Everything was, what we say, glorious. But Dasarath had one problem. He wasn't happy. Although there was no reason for his unhappiness, he wasn't happy. But there was a reason, and the reason was, although he had so many queens, actually, he had 350 queens, and 3 of them were prominent, Sumitra, Kaikeyi, and Kaushalya. But he had no heir to the throne. He couldn't produce a son for whatever reason. And therefore, he was unhappy, and he was getting older, and it was time for him to consider retiring from his position as king and moving on to a place, an heir to the throne, but there was no heir to the throne, so he was very unhappy. See, it also shows that you can have so many material arrangements and everything could still be nice in so many ways. But if there is some desire that's unfulfilled, such as relationship, still everything else becomes meaningless. So even though he had so much, he wasn't at all able to enjoy it at all, because his mind was so unhappy, the fact that he did not have a son. He had one daughter, her name was Shanta, and he had a fellow king who was not too far away, located in the area called Kosala. And that was his name was Romapad. And Romapad also had no issue. So in order to benedict his good friend, Dasarath gave his daughter to Romapad. Now Romapad had committed an offense. And because of his offense, there was a drought in his area, and there was no rain for months and months and months. And so much so it was becoming critical that the water was becoming short and crops were burning up. But there was no relief. And so Sumantra was the chariot driver of Dasarath. And there was a priest, his name is Vashishta. Vashishta said, actually, he came to Dasarath and he said, you know, your friend Romapad has your daughter Shanta. There is this forest dweller that's not too far from his kingdom. His name is Rishishringa. And if Shanta, the daughter of Romapad, could marry Rishishringa, because Rishishringa is a powerful sage. The description of Rishishringa was that he lived in the forest under the care of his strict father named Mirgara Muni. His father didn't allow him to see anybody, so he only saw his father. He never saw another human being. And he was very austere. And so Vashishta said, speak to Romapad and tell him that if he can bring Rishishringa and marry it to his daughter Shanta, then they can both come to our kingdom and perform a sacrifice, because any sacrifice performed by Rishishringa will bring great results. And you will be able to have a son. So Dasarat got some hope, and then he communicated to Romapad. Romapad was thinking, yes, also this will destroy the drought that's been going on for so many years. So he agreed. But how to lure Rishishringa out of the forest to get him to marry Shanta was a great, great obstacle. And so there was a plan that he had some, in those days, kings would have what they call prostitutes' houses for people who wanted extramarital sex life. So they had legal prostitution in those days. It's interesting because that prevented men from polluting other women. So if they wanted some extramarital relationships, they could go to these authorized prostitutes. And so these prostitutes were under the care of the king, and they were taken care of very nicely. So he called 3 of the prostitutes to come. They're called courtians. And he said, I have a little service for you. You have to go into the forest and meet Rishishringa and somehow lure him to come into our kingdom. So they made their plan. So these 3 ladies, they came and they were searching, and then they located the ashram of Rishishringa. But they stayed a distance away, and then they started their own little place where they could dwell, and they start building a fire. And they started just staying there. Rishishringa started to get curious. He started seeing a fire that was some smoke in the nearby area. And so he decided to see what was going on. His father was away at the time. So he took the opportunity and he went and he saw these 3 people. He didn't recognize who they were or what they were. He had never saw a woman in his life. So he thought they were just, different looking men. That's all. So he came, and then immediately when they saw him, they started to welcome him, and they had a whole basket of nice sweets. So they started giving him some sweets, and he never tasted sweets before. He thought they were just some kind of different kind of fruit that he never had before. So in that way, they started to work on him, and then gradually these girls came up to him and embraced him. And he didn't know what to do. So he just accepted it. But then after some time, he noticed that his mind was starting to become changed by the embrace of these ladies, who he didn't know who were ladies. He just thought they were just men in a different form. That's how much he saw in his seclusion in the forest. So after some time, they left. Now his mind was in a different state. His austerities were somewhat disturbed, and all he could think about was these 3 ladies. And so at one point they came back and said, "We would like to take you to where we live." And he immediately agreed. And so they took him to the kingdom of Romapad. And when Romapad met him, he said, "I have a nice daughter. She's marriageable age. She can become your wife." And Rishishringa started to understand more about the facts of life. And there's not much detail in between, but eventually he married Shanta. And soon as Rishishringa came into the kingdom of Romapad, Indra was already bringing clouds of rain into that area. And soon the drought was over. When the news got back to Dasarat, that Rishishringa was now in the kingdom of Romapad, he sent he came personally actually to meet Rishishringa and Shanta, which was his daughter. Romapad said, actually, Rishishringa, this is your father-in-law. I am not your father-in-law. So they met, and then Dasarat invited him, both of them, to come into the kingdom and perform a yajna. And so everything was in place. A yajna was performed, and so Rishishringa presided over the yajna. And being a pure Brahmin, he was expert, and he performed. And at one point during the yajna, out of the fire, a very beautiful black personality came. He was decorated so nicely, very attractive looking. And he had a pot in his hand. And in this pot, there was some Habashiana, or actually, it was called Puresti. That was it was a type of sweet rice. And when he walked right over this person coming out of the fire, he walked right over to Dasara and handed him the pot. Said, you take this pot and you distribute it amongst your three principal queens. So immediately he did. And he said, and then that person said, and as soon as they take it, they will become pregnant. Interesting way to get pregnant. Saves a lot of trouble. So they he took the pot and he distributed half of the sweet rice to his principal queen, Kausalya. He took the other half and divided it in half again, and then he took 1/6 of what was left and gave it to Kaikeyi, and he gave 1/6 to Sumitra. Then after he had some left over, and he took the rest and he gave it to Sumitra. Sumitra got 2 portions, and Kausalya and Kaikeyi got 1 portion each. And now, in just a few days, they all started to understand they were all pregnant. And as time goes on, they gave birth to 4 illustrious sons, which were incarnations of Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Aniruddha, and Pradyumna. Or sometimes they also say that they are incarnations of Krishna's 4 weapons, or 4 symbols, the chakra, the padma, the conch, and the disc, or the club, the club, yeah. So these 4 illustrious sons, they grew up together, and they paired off as friendship. Lakshman, the son of Sumitra, became good, close friends with Ram, and Sutrugna, the other son of Sumitra, became close friends with Bhart's son. With Kaikeyi's son, Bhart, like that. So now everything was in place, and they all grew up, of course. As the story goes on, there was some intrigue that, of course, everyone saw out of all of the 4 sons, Ram was the most qualified to take the throne. And it became unanimous amongst all of the ministers that Ram should be the next Prince Regent or the King of Ayodhya. And everyone loved Ram, even though the other mothers had other sons, they still loved Ram as much as they did their own son. Ram was the darling of everyone, and he was always so kind and compassionate and caring towards everyone. So he won the hearts of everyone. And so everything was in place. And finally, the decision was made, yes, Ram should be the next king of Ayodhya. But then there was one personality. Just on the eve of the ceremony, of course, the entire city became like a bustling metropolis where people were running around making preparations for next day's big inauguration, coronation of the king. And so people were not even sleeping that night. They were making all kinds of arrangements, decorating the city, sprinkling scented water all over the walkways, and hanging various pots from different places in the city. And it was just a great festival. Everyone was taking part. And Dasarath was very excited. Now his son was going to be king. He could retire from his position. Everyone was happy, except one person. Her name was Mantara. Mantara was the maidservant of Kaikeyi, and Kaikeyi just happened to be the favorite queen of Dasarath. Although he had three principal queens, she was the youngest of the three, and she was his favorite. So he would visit her quite regularly. And Mantara was her maidservant. So Mantara one day approached, and she said to Kaikeyi, "Why are you so happy?" Kaikeyi says, "Why shouldn't I be happy? Tomorrow is a big festival, and Ram will be the new king." She said, "You can't see what's happening, can you?" She kind of like was trying to elicit some kind of reaction from Kaikeyi that was different than how she was feeling. And so she continued to go on. "Don't you realize that your son, Bart, he's more qualified to be the king? And Dasarath also promised your father that your son would be the king many, many years ago. And now Ram is going to take the throne. And if Ram takes the throne, Bart, he knows that Bart is more qualified than he. And so he will try to do everything to harm Bart and maybe even kill him. And so there'll be problems for everyone. Therefore, you should, don't you remember? Many years ago, you saved Dasarath on the battlefield when he was wounded in battle. And he gave you two benedictions during that time. And you said, "I will take those benedictions when I need it." So now is the time to take those benedictions. So Kaikeyi wasn't at first not going along with Mantara. But Mantara was speaking so cunningly and so expertly that she somehow or other captured the mind of Kaikeyi. Interesting that sometimes if you lend an ear to wrong types of talk and you start listening, your mind becomes like that. It starts to change. So Kaikeyi was starting to think, yes, I should take these boons now. And what should I ask for? You should ask for those two boons. One, you should ask that your son Bart become the king of Ayodhya, and Ram should go to the forest for 14 years. And so she was a little shocked. Why send Ram to the forest for 14 years? Because, and then she said, Mantara said, because he will become envious of Bart and he will do everything to destroy him. So let him stay in the forest for 14 years until Bart establishes himself as the king. So she reluctantly, but eventually agreed. And then, of course, just to fast forward the story a little bit, she called Dasarat. When Dasarat came to see her, she told him she wants to take these two boons. And now those boons are, she wants that she wants Dasarat to establish her son on the throne, Bart, and for Ram to go to the forest for 14 years. This was like a thunderbolt. In fact, it was such a cataclysm strike upon the chest of Dasarat that he fainted. He actually lost consciousness. He came back to consciousness after a little while, and then she was still there, and he fainted again. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. And then he tried to talk his way, change her mind, but nothing would work. And she said, you gave your promise. A Kshatriya, when he gives his promise, he knows that if he breaks his promise, it's worse than death. If you break your promise, everyone would know you are not actually a real leader. And so he was stuck. So he reluctantly, he tried everything to change her mind, but she was adamant. She had been poisoned sufficiently. So this is a very important statement here. It's the power of bad association. And how could Kaikeyi, who loved Ram even more than her own son, it says, and how could she become so evil simply by bad association? In Krishna consciousness, in the process of devotional service, there is a way that we can become affected by Maya that is very, very easy and very, very powerful, and that is bad association. And so, or if we take association outside of devotees, and we give up the association of devotees for whatever reason, then we start developing the same traits and characteristics and beliefs and value systems of those who we associate with. So that started to happen. As she was associating with the poison coming from Mantara's mouth, she was being affected. Although at the beginning she had no attraction for what Mantara was saying, but Mantara continued and said everything in such an insidious and very evil way to gradually bring her mind to what she wanted her to believe. So one should be very careful in the process of devotional service. Always take the association of devotees, especially those devotees that are advanced in Krishna consciousness. And that will ensure our progress in devotional service. Because advanced devotee association is the association of Krishna through his devotees. And is very much wanted by those who understand that, yes, these personalities who are advanced in devotional service, I should hear from them, I should serve them, I should do whatever I can to serve them in so many different ways. And if we neglect that and think it's okay to take association outside of Krishna consciousness, then, as Rupa Goswami says, that is one of the reasons for fall down, and that's how fall down begins. And then you start losing your connection with the real principles of philosophical knowledge, and you start adopting materialistic tendencies and materialistic principles. And then after a while, you even start finding fault with devotees and devotional service. So one should be very careful in associating with non-devotees. If we have to associate for some material reason, we should make it quick and not develop an intimate association with such persons, because that intimacy will cause us to hear and to also speak what they are believing. And that will cause us to fall down in devotional service. So one had to be very careful. It's like Kaikei was a wonderful person. Now she became something different. She became the person who was actually destroyed the whole Ayodhya dynasty simply by her her greediness or her selfishness to go along with this mantara. So this is one of the more prominent messages in the Ramayana. There are many messages. As we read the Ramayana, we'll find that it is loaded with messages. Ram is Maryada Purushottam. Maryada means he's ideal in all character. When his father approached him, or when he heard about what his father agreed to with his stepmother, he wasn't at all disturbed. When his father kind of like half-heartedly told him that, this is what your stepmother wants, he said, "Father, if this is what you want, this is what I want." He didn't say, well, I'm going to be the king. Everybody in the citizenry, they all want me to be the king. You'll be going against it. No, he said, "Father, if this is your desire, then that is my desire." So allegiance to superiors, parents, of course, that's being withered away now by the effects of Kali Yuga. Children don't listen to their parents so much, and even if they also want to do their own thing, and even if their parents are their well-wishers in all respects, still children find ways to disagree or disobey. That's Kali Yuga, the effects of Kali Yuga. That's mentioned in the Mahabharata as one of the main characteristics of the age of Kali. The children will not appreciate their parents. But Ram wasn't like that. He followed Dharma to the T. He is known as dharmic in all sense of the word. When he was approached by a lady for marriage, he already was married to Sita at the time, and he said, "I'm sorry, in this particular manifestation, I'm only having one wife." And the shot for a Kshatriya to have many wives is quite common. But he took a vow of ekapatni, or one wife. And although he was approached by other ladies, he refused because of that vow he had taken. So that's an interesting point that we can take advantage of. So these are some stories. The Ramayana is full. And the most important thing about the Ramayana, it teaches us how to live life. Mahabharata teaches you values. Ramayana teaches you how to lead and how to live life. What are the principles of righteous livelihood, of character, of values found there. To read and try to understand deeper is actually a wonderful opportunity to improve one's practice in Krishna consciousness, because Ram represents righteousness personified in all sense of the word. He will keep his word, and he will live by the principles that govern a proper son, a proper king, a proper husband, and eventually after some time, an ideal father. Okay, so we don't have so much time. I think we're a little bit over already. So my encouragement to all of you is take time and read as much as you can the Ramayana, or hear lectures about it today, and go deeper, because Srinvata Swakata Krishna Purnya Shravana Kirtanas. The more we hear and chant the glories of the Lord, the more we become closer to the Lord, and the more we were able to become free from the influence of the material energy. And the more we can develop our love for Krishna also. Okay. Any questions, comments?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much. Such a wonderful class. Thank you so much for going through these pastimes. Thank you. Dear devotees, any questions or comments or realizations, you can please go ahead now.
You can comment something about Ram.
Yeah.
Give a little, speak
Yes, ma'am.
something about his pastimes. Talk about some experience you had reading the Ramayana. Anything related.
Yes, Maharaj. In the yesterday, when I was listening to a class, the speaker was talking about Ramayana and the actual qualities of Lord Ramachandra, like Maryada Purushottam, as you said. So he's obedient to his parents, mainly Dashrath Maharaj. He obeyed everything and he left and everything, renunciation. And he showed all the Bhagavan 6 qualities, which we talk about Supreme Lord. So they are all prominently shown by Lord Ramchandra. And even though he's the Lord, he slept on the ground. He didn't carry anything to the forest. He slept on the ground, and he showed such an example of renunciation. That struck me very well, Maharaj. I just want to share that.
Oh, no, yeah, he wanted to show by example.
Yeah.
He's asking others to perform austerity, and so he accepted austerity as a way to inspire others. And he accepted the fact that he was banished to the forest, and he lived like a forest dweller. He even put on tree bark. He dispensed with his royal garb and put on tree bark and lived just like a mendicant in the forest, subsisting only on fruits and roots, that's all.
Maharaj, thank you.
Teaching by example.
Amritaram Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So, Ramayana is indeed a wonderful epic, and I always get moved by the values I learn from it. And I think whenever I have heard it from senior devotees, I've always had tears in the eyes because of the deep value of the characters there is in Ramayana. So one question I had, that Shatrughna is the fourth son of Dashrath, and he really he's called Shatrughna because he's conquered the enemies, and he has really a great role, that he is playing the role of servant of the servant. So Bharat was acting as the das of Ram, and he was acting as the das of Bharat. So if you could give some elaboration on his character. It's a very nice character.
Ram's character?
No, on Shatrughna.
Shatrughna?
Yes.
Let's see. Well, he was expert at one thing. He was really good. I forgot what it was. Mhm. Yeah, I just read it a couple days ago. Mm. Oh, I think he was expert at cooking. I'm not sure. I don't know too much about Satrugna, but he was the inseparable companion, brother of Bart.
I think he's the one who, when he discovered that Mantra is the one who has done that, and he dragged her through his hair and pulled her, and he was about to like chop off his head, and uh, Bharat said no. If Ram was there, he wouldn't have liked to do such a thing. So that really moved me, in spite of Mantra, such an evil desire. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you. That's nice. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Dinanath Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, humble obeisances to you, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj, the pastime specific where Lord Ramachandra testifies Sita Devi to after the battle, it confuses a lot of people. It draws a lot of emotions, sometimes in the wrong way as well. That why Lord Ramachandra has done that, and we know there is a reason why he had to do, but it would be good, Maharaj, if you can elaborate on that.
Yeah, could you repeat that again? I
Yes, yes, Maharaj.
I was just thinking about something else.
I was referring to Maharaj the particular pastime within the Ramayana where Lord Ramachandra asked Sita Devi to testify in the fire after the battle. This
Okay.
particular incident invoked a lot of emotions and a lot of wrong understanding about the character of Lord Ramachandra as well. And it would be nice, Maharaj, if you can elaborate a little bit more, if that's okay with you,
Well,
or why he asked.
he was following the principle of ideal husband, where he said, "Well, you were, you were polluted by the association of Ravana. So how can I take you back?" But ultimately, he knew she was pure, but he wanted to show without a doubt that she was. So he arranged this for her to be vindicated from any kind of criticism, because that criticism came up later with one washerman, and then of course that led to another situation. But at that particular time, Sita, when she heard everything that he had said, of course, she felt completely unhappy. And then she thought, I've remained chaste all these years. All these months was 10 months that she was with Ravana, and now he's not taking me back. And so she accepted the trial by fire, and he knew she was pure. And then she walked into the fire. Of course, everybody became overwhelmed with grief. But then the fire died down, and then Agni came out carrying Sita, because the original Sita was never touched by Ravana. That was a false Sita. When Lord Chaitanya was traveling through South India, he stopped at the house of one person who was a Ram Bhakta. The Ram Bhakta offered to cook for Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya said, fine, I'll come back when everything is ready. So after a couple hours, he came back, but the Brahmin didn't even start to cook yet. And he looked at him, he said, I can see you're unhappy and you haven't done any cooking. And the Brahmin said, yes, I keep thinking that Sita was, taken by Ravana. But then Lord Chaitanya wanted to pacify his mind, so he found some passage in the Ramayana that shows that there was a false Sita that was taken by the real Sita was never touched. And that goes along with the philosophy that, or the understanding, the tattva, that demons cannot touch pure personalities. It's not possible. And they have no access to that, although it may appear to be. So she's the goddess of fortune. She's the chief goddess of. He couldn't possibly touch her, but for the sake of Leela, it appears in that way. So the whole idea was to destroy the kingdom of Ravana and Ravana himself. All of this played itself out in that same way. And then there was another person called Vegavati. She was the false Sita. She was the one that was captured by Ravana, not the real Sita. And that was proved by the trial of fire when she came out. So Ram knew all of this, but he didn't express it. And he simply wanted to follow the principle that if a woman is with another man, away from her husband, she is no longer chaste anymore. And so he put her through that test, and obviously he knew she would pass the test. That's also indicated in the discussions on this particular Leela. And so people who don't know it, they just see it superficially. So the real Sita was never touched by Ravana.
Thank you, Maharaj, for that clarification. Thank you.
Yeah. Ram did that so people wouldn't criticize later and blame him for taking back his wife who was no longer chaste.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Nice question. Rajamandal Prabhu, please go ahead. You're on mute, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to your lotus feet. Jai Ram. You're going to have to mind me, I'm a bit sick and just nursing another cold. But I came online just to, I was going to make a point, which you emphasized quite strongly on. Prabhuji was saying about Sita, Mother Sita, and we are rehearsing the Ramayana, and I have a wonderful opportunity to play Lord Ram this Sunday. So we are rehearsing this very scene that we were just discussing, where Lord Ram steps away as Mother Sita pays her obeisances to him just after giving the garland once they meet again. And that point that you mentioned, it was to set an example. You just touched because I really wanted to emphasize that point, that it was about to set the example for the nation, because Lord Ram knew how people would criticize him, and he knew that had he not done that, the residents of Ayodhya would criticize him, so he stepped away. And yes, that's a very profound point. I also want to mention that throughout the years of doing the Bhaktivedanta players, I've played Ram a few times. But whenever I played Lord Ram, I find myself in this very strange mood. It's an interesting mood that just happens. I can't explain it. It's very, very sweet. It's as if Lord Ram takes over. It's very, very wonderful. So I'm looking forward to it. But I just thought I'd share that with you.
Yeah, very nice. We look forward to maybe getting an opportunity to see your performance.
Thank you very much. I'll share some pictures on the WhatsApp group chat for everyone to have a look.
Yeah.
You want
Just,
to hear?
Okay. Do you have any?
Yeah.
sorry, Gurumaj.
Yeah, thank you.
If everyone can send your prayers that I get a little bit better before then, because I'm not 100%.
Okay. One time you played Hanuman, didn't you?
Correct, Guru Maharaj. That was about 3 years, 2 years ago, I think. Yeah. I always played Hanuman, to be honest. I generally play because I'm very agile and fit and jump around. But this time I've been casted for Lord Ram, so I'm going to have a shave and get rid of this and spruce up a bit. But as I mentioned, when I play Lord Ram, it's very, very beautiful. The mood, it just feels really nice to the heart, and you lose yourself on stage. You really, truly lose your feelings and yourself, and you enter this beautiful realm, and it can bring tears to the eyes when you're on stage. You just have to control it sometimes. It's really sweet.
Good. Good. I'm sure the audience is sharing your feelings.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Nice.
Please share the recording or two if you can, Prabhuji. Recording of the drama, of the play.
There is some recordings, yes. Alternatively, if anyone wants to see, you can go on YouTube and just type Bhaktivedanta Players.
Oh, okay.
We have a whole host of beautiful, beautiful pastimes on there. Beautiful. Some of them going back 30 years when I was a tiny little boy, but they are there. They're lovely.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Hare Krishna, Madam.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada really wanted this to be a very big part of our practice of Krishna consciousness, and also our way to reach out to people with these pastimes of the Lord. He saw them as a very powerful means to bring people into our Krishna conscious movement. And so if we can continue to do that and develop these things more and more, people will actually become it's obvious. I've actually seen people come just because of plays, dramas. It's not a small thing. It happens regularly when the drama is really, really done accordingly. So yeah, I'm sure Srila Prabhupada will be very pleased. We can continue to do that. Bhaktivedanta players have become somewhat famous. Continue.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. I most certainly will. Just before I go, I'll quickly add, I did take your instruction on just keeping my acting skills solely for the pleasure of Srila Prabhupada and the devotees. And so I washed my hands with the bigger screen, and I got rid of all my agents and so on and so forth. And I just kept my mind focused on my service.
Good. Wonderful. There's a story where Srila Prabhupada was watching the famous Vaikuntha players. They were the drama troupe coming out of New York. They were the first. Mm-hmm. And Prabhupada was so enlivened by the performance. And at the end of the performance, he said, you should all get passports, visas, and you travel with me. I'll preach and you can do dramas. Prabhupada actually invited them all, but I guess it wasn't practical. They couldn't get passports and follow Prabhupada all around the world. It was a little bit difficult. But that was Prabhupada's statement. He actually wanted that to be a big part. And I think that our Sunday feast lectures, Sunday feast programs should always include some kind of drama as part of the presentation for the Sunday feast. That would really bring people in. And what it also does, it brings the devotees closer together. That's one of the main things, that the devotees who take part in these dramas, they develop a real relationship with each other because they work so closely with each other in performing these leelas. And these leelas are eternal. They're not just dramatic performances. They're the leelas of the Supreme Lord.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. I remember growing up as a child, that was a very profound program on Sundays. I would watch the plays and I'd be desperate to be on stage with the devotees. And so lucky my answers were called by Dwarkapuri and Jai Krishna Prabhu. And you're correct. We are a family, and my love for them grows deeper and deeper and deeper as I get older. I love them very dearly. I would do anything for them, and vice versa. And we all know we can just make a phone call if we need each other. We are there, and we'll do anything we can to support and help one another in any circumstance. And my deepest prayer, I mentioned to Jai Krishna Prabhu just last week. I sent him a message, and I said, my deepest prayer to Sri Radha Krishna is that we all perform these plays all together eternally back home, where we never leave each other. That's my deepest prayer.
Yeah, in the spiritual world, these dramas are not dramas, they're real life experiences that go on all the time.
You can imagine. Wow. Yeah.
Good, wonderful.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, Prabhuji. Thank you. Guru Maharaj, there is a question on chat by Sri Advaita Prabhu. He's asking, Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. Thank you so much for your wonderful class. I hear a lot of devotees giving references from Ramcharitmanas by Tulsi Das. I was wondering if Ramcharitmanas is an authorized source to read from as well.
Another controversial statement. Ramcharitmanas is the most beautiful poetic expression of the Ramayana available. It's pure in its poetic expression, especially if you read about the marriage of Sita and Ram, and it's unbelievable. He gives so much attention to that one. It's beautiful. You can do many wonderful plays using his Ramayana. But there are points in it that indicate there are certain elements of Mayavad philosophy that sort of not permeates, but is found in different places throughout that. And so Srila Prabhupada gave preference of Valmiki's Ramayana over, Tulsi Das's. So because he wanted to keep the principle of bhakti foremost and not mix it in with a little bit of Mayavad. So that's the danger in Tulsi's. Otherwise, from the literary point of view, from the story point of view, it's wonderful. But it has Mayavad points there. And Prabhupada was very careful to guard his devotees against any kind of wrong philosophical understandings.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you so much.
Hari.
Amritanam Mataji, you have a question? Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Sorry. My question was, because Rama had many controversial pastimes. Sometimes, especially when the people of Kali Yuga, they usually misunderstand, and their mentality is we are what we are. Why we need to prove it to somebody else? So, how to counteract with this statement?
What does that mean? We are what we are, and we don't need
So,
to.
yeah, so Ramachandra, being Maryada Purushottam, he tested Sita Mata many times. He abandoned him. Abandoned her. So that is what raises this kind of questions, and especially people of Kali Yuga, they say that we know what we are. So this is kind of you know contradicting to what practices uh, Ramachandra practiced, and he was actually the ideal king. So how can we make them understand this thing?
You can't make anybody understand anything unless they want to. If they have a little, if they're open for some explanation, then you have a way in. But otherwise, don't even worry about people like that. Just let them go. It's a waste of time.
Hmm.
We talk to people who are a little bit open, who are a little bit curious, who are a little bit want to know something more than what they know. But if someone is, adamant and is contrary, doesn't want to hear anything, then let him go. Let him go. There's so many people in the world to talk to. You don't have to worry about those people.
So there are sometimes, Guru Maharaj, we need to give, although we know who we are, but we need to give proofs to the society to set the examples. Even
Yeah,
polishing our own intelligence.
all the explanations are there. All you have to do is hear the commentaries on the Ramayana by the Acharyas, and you get the answers. Everything has been commentated on. Bali was killed by Ram supposedly unfairly. Read the commentary before you can make that judgment. Sita was somehow unfairly banished from the kingdom and was sent to Valmiki. Understand what's behind it. If you see things on the superficial level, you remain superficial. And that means you're wrong.
Right. Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
We can't place our value systems on the Supreme Lord and expect that to be our standard of understanding.
Thank you,
Right.
Maharaj. Sridevi Mataji, please go ahead.
Thank you, Srimati. Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my most humble obeisances or glories to Srila Prabhupada. Rajamandal Prabhu's sharing was so sweet and so moving to my heart that it reminded me of the little children that I would interact with back in US, and the number of plays that all the little ones did. So many different plays from the pastimes of the Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, Lord Ram's pastimes, and how the little ones would rehearse. And as you rightly said, it just draws in the audience. Guru Maharaj, we had no props, we had no sophisticated stage equipment, we didn't have even fancy costumes. We just cobbled together whatever we got. But the audience would sit through all that, and the little kids would enact their parts so sweetly. It used to be a very moving experience. Yeah, I used to feel very much blessed and rewarded simply because the children would do such a marvelous seva in that way. And parents would be very appreciative after that. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you so much.
Okay, Hare Krishna, thank you.
Sorry to interrupt. Can I just add to that, Mataji? Sorry to interrupt, Guru Maharaj. I just want to add a point that you've mentioned, which is lovely, which we all experience, which is when children do plays, they are acting from a very open, sweet, honest, down-to-earth mood. And we've discussed this, that we should all try to apply that when we are doing our service, especially when we're playing an exalted individual, Lord Ram, Chaitanya, Krishna, etc., etc., etc. And when we apply this mood properly, Krishna takes over. And we've all experienced it. Actually, Krishna takes over on stage. And we've experienced wonderful, wonderful things that have happened to all of us, most of us, I'd say. So that's a really lovely point you've made. But children are fantastic because they're completely open and very sweet. And when we go back to Goloka Vrindavan, everyone's a child. We're playing with Krishna. So,
Yeah, thank
that
you.
point is very, very profound.
Yeah, the innocence directed in the right way.
That's the mood that we need to all apply.
Yeah, just like everyone loves the baby monkey, but when it grows up, nobody wants to be around the big monkey.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah,
Thank you.
everyone wants to be around the little kid, but when it grows up, he's a different person. So don't grow up. Don't grow up in the wrong way anyway, which is usually what happens.
Very sweet. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bhikkhu Prabhuji, you can go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Please accept our Dandavat Pranams, Maharaj, and all glories to Srila Prabhupada. I think yesterday you mentioned about a bhajan, which I think my wife feels she has found that bhajan. If there is time and you wish to hear, then she can say that bhajan.
Yeah. She'll sing it for us.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Maharaj. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I tried next time, so nervous first time.
Go ahead. All right. Go ahead.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasita Jasatavani Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gauraputta Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Krishna. Hare Ram, Jai Ram, Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram,
Shri
Sri
Ram
Ram,
Jaya
Jai Ram.
Ram Jaya Jaya Ram.
जय रघुनंदन जय सिया राम जय रघुनंदन राजा राम
Jai Raghunandana Jai Shri Ram Jai Raghunandana Raja Ram.
श्री राम जय राम श्री राम जय राम कौशल्या के प्यारे राम दशरथ राज दुलारे राम
कौशल्या के प्यारे राम दशरथ राज दुलारे राम
श्री राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम
जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम
मुख में तुलसी घट में राम जब बोलो तब सीताराम
मुख में तुलसी घट में राम जब बोलो तब सीताराम
बोलो श्री राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय जय राम
श्री राम जय जय राम
श्री राम जय
जय
राम श्री रामचंद्र भगवान की जय चंद्रमौली महाराज की
जय हरे कृष्ण
हरे कृष्ण कोटि कोटि प्रणाम प्रभु
Jai. Very nice bhajan.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So sweet. And so nicely, with so much devotion. Thank you. That was nice. I saw
Thank
Brother there, he was getting so excited just listening to you.
Thank you to give me this opportunity. All devotees, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
You want to hear
Thank you.
something funny?
Yes.
Yes, Maharaj, please.
Today I gave initiation to
Yes.
2 people this morning at the temple here in Ljubljana. And one girl, she's from Croatia. The other girl is from Slovenia. This girl from Croatia, I gave her the name Sita Rani. Her name was Ivana. And now she's Sita Rani. She comes onto the class sometimes.
Yes, sir.
But the reason I gave her that name is that her devotion and her dedication to Krishna consciousness is similar to Mother Sita. Now, that's a very laudable statement. But when she came first to Krishna consciousness, she was attracted, but she was married to this person who was completely against Krishna consciousness. But that didn't faze her from continuing. And so she continued to sneak around as best as she could and use whatever time on the side to associate with devotees, to chant, to read. And her husband became very much aware of what she was doing. He was getting very angry. And sometimes he would even get violent with her. And he did everything to break her will, but she didn't change. At one point, she had a deity of Hanuman in her, and he took that deity of Hanuman and threw it into the fire. And it was a brass deity, so she picked it up and eventually cleaned it off, and it's back to normal now. So I was also thinking that right now the marriage is finished. He's no longer there. He gave up on her, or she gave up on him. I don't know. She gave up on him long ago, but he actually at one point decided to pull out of the marriage because he couldn't tolerate her anymore, becoming a devotee. So, and I actually saw him. He was quite a vicious person, kind of always angry and not very pleasant to be around. And that's his opposition to Krishna consciousness was very, very visible. And, even threw her out of the house one time, made her live into the garage. She has 2 children also, both girls. But she stayed despite all of that whole situation. And now she's free from the effects of that. So I called her husband. He was like Ravana, and she was Sita. And Hanuman, you remember Hanuman got his tail caught on fire by Ravana, put his tail on fire, but somehow or other it didn't affect him. So I said, you saved Hanuman from the fire. So it was quite dramatic initiation ceremony this morning. And devotees were really getting into it. And so I thought the only name she could possibly have was the name of Sita. So it all turned out for the best. Ravan is gone and Sita's fine.
Jai. Hari Bol. Very nice, Guru Maharaj. Very nice name. On such an auspicious day. She's
Yeah.
very fast.
Yes. She's very, very sincere in her Krishna consciousness. Very humble, and very quiet, but very fixed on Krishna. I mean, nothing's going to change her heart. I mean, her life was even threatened by her husband. And still, she somehow endured all of the harassment and stayed fixed on Krishna.
Great. Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
Maharaj, I have a question. Suppose in the Kali Yuga, the parents everyone are degraded. So if the parents' character is not good, and even though the children should not disrespect them, right? Even though the parents are not that much of good character, or
They're not real parents.
Mm.
A real parent is a person who takes one to the goal of life. Rishabh mentioned that don't become father, mother, guru, or teacher if you can't bring your person to the platform of devotional service. And they're not qualified to be parents.
Mm. So how the children should treat them, like when they're suppose into Krishna consciousness and the parents are not there. So
be respectful, but don't listen to them.
Okay. Mm.
And if they try to stop you, just don't, go the other way.
Mm.
And if you can't tolerate anymore, then just give them up.
Mm. Thank you.
You can help them, that's fine, but if you can't, and it's obvious you can't do anything to change them, then your life, it's very rare, extremely rare for a person to come to Krishna consciousness. So if one is trying to stop that, they're the greatest enemy.
Mm.
Not just an enemy, the greatest enemy. They maybe in the guise of parents or well-wishers, but they don't. If they're ignorant, try to help them. But if they're just what we say, what we might say, if they're just doing everything they can to ruin your life and spiritual life, then you should. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati says you should get angry at such people.
Mm.
We don't understand, not fully understand the value of Krishna consciousness. If we did, we would, we would be absorbed in it 24 hours a day. It's very rare to get the opportunity for devotional service. Lord Chaitanya made it less rare by his mercy and by his program of chanting, dancing, feasting, and philosophy. He made it easier. But still, how many people are coming?
Yes, Maharaj. Yeah.
And those who come, how many are actually coming for the right reason?
Yes. Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you so much. Susanna Mataji, you have a question?
Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances and long glories to Srila Prabhupada and New Guru Maharaj. I just wanted to show some tiny sweet thing how the tulip has opened up to Hanumanji. If I can, but can you see it?
Something on the computer?
Yeah, it's above my
I can
head,
see-
and it's a
I see
vase. Okay,
there's
it's
I see the shelf, but I can't make out what's on the shelf.
It's a flower, tulip flower,
a
Maharaj.
That
tulip
was-
flower, and it opened up only to Sri Hanumanji. That's so sweet. I just wanted to show to all of you.
Yeah, Hanuman can be sweet too.
Yeah, I experienced it in London. It was so sweet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you for this wonderful lecture.
Sure.
Hare
Take a picture,
Krishna.
Mataji. Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
good. Thank you.
So Srimati, what should we do? Oh, we got.
Shilpeshwar.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. I just wanted to recommend this book. I found this Ramayana by Rancho Prime, and you find it on eBay. It's a really nice retelling of the whole story, and it was made for a TV series they made many years ago. But yes, it's a beautiful book on Ramayana.
Yeah, I haven't read it, but I've heard about it.
Yeah, it's got beautiful artwork. It's full of, I think he's found paintings from all over the different times and everything, but it's very beautiful.
Wow.
Nice, yeah.
You can find it on eBay if anybody wants it because it's out of print.
Oh,
Who is
it's
the
out of
author? Who is the author, Prabhuji?
Rancho Prime Das.
Okay.
Rancho Prime.
Mhm. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we can stop here.
Yes, Maharaj. I just want to announce tomorrow's class. Tomorrow's class is with ISKCON. Instead of Harrisburg, we have ISKCON Hare Krishna Africa. Maharaj is going to give class to Hare Krishna Africa devotees at the same time, 12 p.m. UK time. And the topic is Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, 2.9.44. Second canto, 9th chapter, verse number 44. And the same regular time. That is tomorrow, April 18th, Thursday. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'll post the link in the WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay. My obeisances to all the devotees. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Raghupati Raghava Raja Ram. Patita Pavana.
Maharaj, can I make a very small, quick announcement about the books Krishna's Way, Natural Living, if you don't mind?
Tomorrow.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much for today's
Yeah,
class.
we don't want to
Thank
change the subject. Okay, thank you. My obeisances to everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Oh.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.